Welcome to part two since it cut me off. Okay, anyway, you guys can use these in your responses part of what we're assigned to do. Maybe think about it on your own. But I think the major weaknesses of Trimble's position was just that flanking maneuver, or lack of a flanking maneuver, I should say, and the fact that his men were just not trained. Okay, so the retreat began. So McCarthy began to fall back with his men. Remember, he's up on that little rocky outcropping that Trimble had sent him to. But he realized what was happening and was like, I've got to get out of here with my men. So he starts to retreat. Captain Trimble notices that he's starting to retreat, and he's like, no, you need to go back, because um, if they were going to hold the high ground and get the men to safety, he knew that McCarthy needed to be on that high ground point. But this caused confusion. At this point, McCarthy's not quite sure what he needs to do. He is able to get some men to come back and go back to that high point with him, but he only got 3, and the Indians were able to see that there was such a small group, and they saw their chance to attack. When he saw the Indians coming, McCarthy ordered his men back, but he was the only one to survive, and he did win the Medal of Honor for that. So then I ask you this: was Captain Trimble wrong to order him back to the high ground, especially with only 3 men? I mean, it was the location that was the only point possible to take a stand, but was it worth it, especially when the entire company at this point was retreating? So Captain Perry and Captain Trimble hoped to organize an orderly retreat, and granted, this is only after 45 minutes of fighting. I mean, the Nez Perce were able to take over both of their companies very quickly. The men were completely seized with panic and completely uncontrollable. Their horses were uncontrollable and absolutely terrified because they weren't necessarily trained to be war horses. And so they retreated in 2 groups. Captain Trimble took a group to the west wall of the canyon, and the Nez Perce saw what they were doing, and they kind of herded them off the battlefield until they were to a point where they were actually getting close to Grangeville. They were getting close to settlers, and the Nez Perce decided to fall back and leave them alone so that they wouldn't get involved with that. I picked this picture here just because it shows the elevation of Whitebird, which is 4,200 feet. That's pretty high, and also might have been an issue for Captain Trimble's men. How many of them were used to exerting energy in high elevation? I know when I go up north and I try and go running, it's really hard. And so that might have been something that they might not have taken into consideration with men that were untrained in super high terrain. And as you can see, there's trees everywhere. The cliffs are pretty sharp. It's not easy terrain to move about in. Well, the aftermath of this is that 34 U.S. soldiers were dead. There were 2 additional wounded, and 2 of the volunteers were wounded. No Indians were killed. Some of them were wounded, but I think that also goes to prove the difference in training that was there. Even though Captain Trimble was not successful at Whitebird, I still think he was able to help with the cause. I mean, he was able to take all of his training that he had in his background to make some decisions. We can have a discussion on whether those decisions were correct or not. But even after this, he did not give up. He assisted settlers that were suffering other Indian attacks throughout his life. He actually rescued settlers from the Seven River Falls of the Snake River. This party had really been attacked bad. They pretty much lost everything, and they had to resort to cannibalism. And he helped rescue them from deep snow. One last thought from Captain Trimble. I really liked that he said this. He says, the bulk of the old regular Army officers were gentlemen par excellence, and their many brilliant deeds are a shining example to those who come after them. They were genteel, economical, and courteous, with no ostentation. I like that he said their brilliant deeds are a shining example to those who come after them. A brilliant deed doesn't necessarily have to be that they were perfect and they never made mistakes and that they were successful on the battlefield. A brilliant deed just means that they went forth and did the best that they could and led men to the best that they were capable of. And we can learn from all of them that have gone before us so that we can be the best officers that we can possibly be one day. I think Captain Trimble did a lot of good for our army throughout all of his early Indian wars, throughout the Civil War, at the Battle of Whitebird. He was able to save the lives of a lot of men, especially by putting his first sergeant up on that high point to protect his men. But he could have also made some better choices, possibly too. So I guess we can talk about that later in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed my awesome PowerPoint presentation with my dogs squeaking their toys in the background. Have a great day.